Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
We welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Wednesday, March the 10th. I'm Gary Stevens. And a regular feature we'll have between now and autumn will be conversations with Ottawa County Sheriff Sergeant Jon Knott. He is now pretty much the head of the department's Marine unit, and we'll be talking about water safety and boating safety with Jon as the weather gets better and people are going out onto the waters. Jon joins us via the Zoom connection this morning. Jon, good morning and welcome back to Talk of the Town.
Good morning, Gary. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Glad you are with us. And if you have a question about water safety, or in this case, boating safety, Jon Knott's a good guy to ask at 395-1450, 395-1450. Normally, March the 10th, I would be posing this as maybe one of the toughest times of the year for water safety, because we would have still some bodies of water with ice and others not with ice. But over the last few days, temperatures have certainly warmed up, and I have a funny feeling we may not have to worry too much about ice anymore. I hope I'm right.
Well, there's still a couple lakes in the area that get ice. Hopefully we don't have to worry about this ice safety for much longer. I was actually up in the Upper Peninsula last week, and they had 16 inches of ice up there. It was we actually seen full-size pickup trucks out there. But we did our first. We tried to do a training ice dive yesterday at one of the local lakes in Georgetown, but our ice deteriorated really quickly, and it was very hard to do that dive actually. So.
But the thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know whether or not you can answer this. Did we see fewer ice fishermen this year than in the past? And again, this would be like a continuing thing because we had two pretty mild winters.
Yeah.
And this year, outside of a little stretch last month when we had temperatures that were pretty much hovering near the 10-degree mark, did we not have a lot of ice fishermen this time around or no?
Well, like I said, it was a short season. When they could get out, it was already into late January, early February, and most of that was on the bayous on the Grand River. And when they got out, it was not uncommon on a weekend to see upwards of 300 ice fishermen or women in a small section of bayou or on Eastmanville Bayou or like bodies of water. But it was a very short season for that.
Yeah, which means not much activity, and fortunately, not much time. We didn't have to report about rescues in Ottawa County, especially.
Thank goodness for that. And
yeah,
like I said, we still have some ice up in the northern areas, like some of the gravel pits in the areas still have some ice on there, and I would say not to go on any of that ice. It is not good anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, John. But then again, I'm not a person who would want to go on ice anyway. But, maybe some who see those commercials with Matthew McConaughey ice fishing from his pickup truck, from his luxury SUV. They might say, oh, how romantic. But if I want to fish, I'll go to the VFW post on Friday and eat some of their fish.
They all have a fish fry going on right now.
All right, 395-1450, 395-1450. Interesting point that was made about ice dealing with humans, which we normally would associate, ice fishermen. Yep. But sometimes dogs, maybe not so much cats. They're a little bit smarter, but dogs might be out on the ice, and then they don't understand not going in certain spots, and all of a sudden, there goes Fido.
There goes Fido, exactly. Right now, if you're going to buy a body of water that's got ice on it, I would not have your dog off leash at this time. It's just you're going to go through. That dog is going to go through if he goes out on the ice. I mean, around here, there's like yesterday when we were trying to do an ice dive, we actually had to go from shore to do it. And that water, you could see the waves just ripple through the ice, and it was just slush on top of the water. If your dog does venture or your pet goes out onto the ice and it does break through, please, it's not worth. Don't go out there to try to save it. Call 911. Let the local fire department determine whether they're going to save the dog and go out there. They're trained to do that. Unless that dog is if you can stand by on shore, and try to get a stick or a boat out to that dog or someplace where that dog can get back onto shore. If you feel comfortable doing that, as long as you're on shore, that's one thing. But please don't venture out on that ice, because you're going to go through with a panicked dog or a panicked animal. We've had deer go through the ice, and we urge you not to go out on that ice. Please, we don't want more victims than we have to have out there. And we're risking the first responders as well when they have to go out and rescue you as well. And they want to come out and rescue you, obviously. But we don't want them to be victims as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, you got to draw the line in that situation. If you have a question for Ottawa County Sheriff Sergeant Jon Knott of the Marine Unit, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450. A related question in the sense of being in the great outdoors. And maybe this is not one, although you are a person that likes the great outdoors as your hobby, but yet this might be more for DNR Ranger BJ than anything else about hunter safety and fisherman safety, but hunter safety as well. Does the county provide any hunter safety classes, or is that strictly a state/private concern?
We do have several school resource officers that provide hunter safety throughout the county, and they also do boater safety classes. Some of the Marine deputies provide boater safety classes. We have several throughout the summer. Right now, it's real difficult with COVID. We can't have in-class. We can't do anything in class. They can still do for hunter safety. They can still do the field classes, but they still have to do the in-class sessions as well. So right now the state's not certifying any boater safety classes for sure. I don't know about the hunter safety classes. I don't think we're running any right now.
Okay, because somebody had called and asked about hunter safety, and I figured that's more of a case maybe to get our elder BJ to answer that question a little bit more than anything else. 395-1450, 395-1450. But let's talk a little bit about boating safety, and I'm going to tie this in with a thing that we normally do during the week. We have the master gardener, Jan Musin from the Brine Seed, and we talk about planning your garden now for the upcoming season. For boaters, this is a good time to plan and prepare your vessel for the upcoming season as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you should. Right now is a perfect time. It's starting to get warm. We had almost a 60-degree day yesterday. Start thinking about your boat, your trailers. Maybe you're getting your boat out of storage right now. You should have your own checklist that you go through, and you can find these checklists online. I'm not sure if the DNR has a website or a portion of their website you can go on for a checklist. But right now, you should be going through your whole boat. Maybe first, pull your boat out, do a quick visual inspection of your boat. Look for your rivets popping, your transom, any cracks or anything like that. Go through your trailer. Make sure that your trailer's in good working order. Look at the tires. They've been sitting for a whole winter in the same place. Make sure the tread's good, the inflation is good. Grease the hubs. Make sure that's taken care of. Then going through your boat, make sure that all your plugs, your drain plugs are working properly. They're in. Your battery connections. That's the last thing you want to do is you want to get everybody on the boat, and all of a sudden you go out there and you can't start your boat. It's because you have a dead battery. You forgot to charge it all winter long, or you didn't have it on a slow trickle charge. What I like to do is I like to run my engine before I even put it in the water. Put the muffs on there, make sure it's running properly, make sure it starts. People forget to put stabilizer in their fuel through the winter, and that can cause disasters out on the water when you have engine problems out on Lake Michigan. So that's the one thing is going through your engine, your electronics, your electrical systems, your trailer. The next thing you want to focus is on your safety equipment. What do I need on my boat? Also, obviously, you need PFDs, your life jackets. You want to go through all your life jackets, make sure they're in good, proper working order. They're not weather torn, weather rotted. Make sure they fit everybody. Maybe you need to go purchase new ones. Go through your lines, your anchor lines, your mooring lines. Make sure those are in proper working order and they're not weather rotted. Just your nav lights, everything like that. Just make sure you want to go through everything before you go out on the water. That way you have a good, safe time out on the water.
Now, another thing that I'm going to sort of tie into a conversation we had last week with Holland Fire Marshal Brent Grondike, and he was talking about fire extinguishers.
Yes.
And the fact that that's another thing, boats, I think the size of the boat really will determine whether or not they should have a fire extinguisher. Right. And one thing Brent mentioned is the fact that most consumer fire extinguishers, you don't recharge them. Commercial, different story. But but consumer, if you use them, buy a new one. It's not going to be worth it to try to recharge. Is that the same with boating as well?
Yeah, I mean, for most boats, if you have an engine on the boat, I'm not going to say what you can't have, but if you have an engine on the boat, you're going to want to have a fire extinguisher, and it's a requirement in most cases, especially if there's an enclosure or something like that. So that's very important to make sure that your fire extinguisher is charged. You want that Type B fire extinguisher, and look for a lot of fire extinguishers for marine have a sticker on it that says U.S. Coast Guard approved. So look for that sticker when you go purchase one and make sure everything's in proper working order. And know how to use your fire extinguisher.
You know what? That's a good point, because to me, and son of a cop, I hate to say this. I say this to my shame. But let's put it this way. My one time being at a firing range up at camp up north in Camp Geneva, It was not pretty. I'll be honest with you. And I would think firing a fire extinguisher is pretty much the same thing. You got to have a little practice. Yeah, you might have to spend a little money to, burn off, one fire extinguisher. So, but you got to be able to know how to do it, because if you don't, it'll be it might even be worse to use it to try to put out the flames than actually letting the flame, finding other ways of putting the flame out. Right.
And remember, when you're on a boat, there's at least in a house, sometimes there's an escape route. In a boat, you're on that boat. The only way is to go overboard. So make sure that, and with people have older engines and sometimes they don't work out right. I can talk from experience with people that I know that have fires on their boats.
And the other thing too is to know when, use the fire extinguisher or a different type of way of putting out a fire, because just like, a grease fire and a wood fire, it's all different.
It's all different, and you don't want it to make it worse by putting water on it. So,
yeah. I'm talking like greases and oil.
Yes.
And
stuff like that. Yep.
And we are chatting with Ottawa County Sheriff Sergeant Jon Knott. He is with the Marine Unit of the department. If you have a question about boating safety and maybe water safety as well, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450. Boating safety right now, because I would think we're at least 2 to maybe 3 months away, Jon Knott, from talking about water safety, because the waters will still be too cold for safely being in it no more than a few moments.
Correct. And even with ice safety, a lot of people some of those waterways are starting to be opening up. People are thinking about getting kayaks out, and they need to be prepared, especially if heaven forbid you go overboard. There's a couple of rules that you need to follow. It's the one comes to mind. It's a 1-10-1 rule. Basically, if you fall over in that cold water, it's still ice cold. You have 1 minute to catch your breath and calm yourself down. And then it comes to the 10-minute rule. you have 10 minutes to recover yourself before your appendages, your hands, your feet, your fingers start freezing up and you can't move them. Then you have an additional 30 minutes to an hour before you lose consciousness due to hypothermia. So when you're going out there, you really have to be careful. When you're going on your kayak right now, you have to be careful, and people are doing it. Make sure you're wearing that life jacket. Make sure you're wearing all your protective clothing, because in the long run, time is not on your side. And if you can give yourself more time by wearing a life jacket, or get yourself to shore with a life jacket, it greatly increases your survival rate.
That's being in the water by a choice, in terms of you're on a kayak or
Correct.
you're on a boat. You made the choice of going into the
Correct.
water, and then an accident happens, and all of a sudden you're in the drink, not by intent.
Right. And that could apply to if you decide to venture out on the ice, and I strongly discourage that right now. If there is ice that you find, that would apply to that as well. Any cold water situation right now.
Now, what about those, and this is a year-round thing, and it's sort of a reminder, there are those who want to, like the beauty of Lake Michigan, the water's off of the piers and off of the lighthouses at Grand Haven. Get that picture, get that photo. And yet, sometimes, especially if they don't have a telephoto lens, they're going to be on those piers. And right now, this is not a good time, because they're slipperier than normal because of the cold weather.
Yep. And the cold weather, it freezes at night. And if it's in the shade, we're going to have icy patches on the pier heads, and it doesn't take much to slip in. With the high water, it's going down now, but still, it doesn't take much to slip in. And like I said, you have not much time to get out, especially if there's waves out there, and it creates currents and undertows. And please use extreme caution if you're going out there.
Based on your experience, and I'm going to say yours as the unit's experience, how much work right now, and we're talking on March the 10th, but in the late winter, early spring, how much work does the unit have to deal with in terms of windsurfers, in terms of those who want to be out in the waters that, they know it's cold, but they're still going to go out because of the thrill of being a windsurfer? Our unit, it's always poised and ready to go. We're going to go on a moment's notice. If we get that call, right now, all of our boats are in storage, but they can be pulled out at any time. We have boats ready that can get deployed right now. A lot of the boat launches are freed up. But if we get that call with that windsurfer that goes in the water, we're going to go out there, and we're going to do the best we can. The Coast Guard's ready too. They have boats ready to be put in the water. I don't know if they have them in yet, but I know they have boats ready to go right now as well. So we're going to be there. Somebody will be there. I just bring the windsurfer out because they usually are there. As long as the big lake doesn't freeze, they're going to go out.
And regular surfers too. I can't understand that.
The thrill of catching that big wave.
Exactly.
Maybe they listen to too many Beach Boys songs. Jon Knott, the sergeant from the Ottawa County Sheriff's Department's Marine Unit, thank you very much for joining us today on Talk of the Town. We appreciate you joining us today and joining us throughout the spring, summer, and fall months to talk about boating and water safety. Wish you and the unit well, and we'll talk again next month.
Thank you, sir. It's been a good pleasure.
Thank you very much, Jon Knott, on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.